Hello, everyone, and I am back for a review of Sordaneon, or Sordaneon. I really don't know how to pronounce that, but I gotta talk about this book because, man, it is. We don't talk about it enough. We need to talk about this book more because, holy shit, am I impressed. I am profoundly impressed by this book. And if I don't sell you on it, it blew the socks off Janny Wirtz. So just think about that. Just think about that. And isn't that insane? An author of such acclaim as Janny Wirtz up there, it was blown. And by the way, she can write a crazy plot. If you haven't read her works, she can write one hell of a crazy plot, and this blew her away. And so, finishing Sordaneon it was an experience. This book was a true experience. It has this ephemeral tone to it, or atmosphere, I think. As you read this book, it has this, I don't want to say larger than life, it has this divine feel to it. The prose. It feels like I don't want to say quite in a dream, because I feel like a dream is better fitting for Wars of Light and Shadow, but the term of I feel like I'm getting a vision of a different world is what this really feels like. And not only that, but the world building is so absolutely amazing. Everything about the god machines. And yes, you heard me right. In this book, there are god machines. I think there's a wall that obviously it's called the wall, but it's like this complex machine that can predict the future. And that's just insane. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? This machine, this wall fucking predicts the future? It's so cool and so awesome. And what else is awesome is, like, we have this thing called the Rill. I'm not going to talk too much about the Rill, because it's something that I think you're supposed to understand more of as you read the book and go through the series. So I'm not going to talk too much on it, but it is a very fascinating thing, because all these god machines, they facilitate things like trade. And so if these machines facilitate trade, we see the importance of not only these machines as parts of religion, of faith, of history, but also as things that are important to daily life. They transport goods from a city to another city, as so long as they're hooked up to the network. And these aspects of the Rill are so fascinating, because it creates so much in the political space. And the politics of this book is where it truly shines. Trust me on that. It's like I don't want to call it optimistic, per se, but it has a nicer view of the world than A Song of Ice and Fire, while maintaining the level of politics that Game of Thrones did. And I'm talking about Game of Thrones Book 1, because I haven't read past Book 1 of A Song of Ice and Fire. But it had that level of politicking, which is insane, especially since I think this is a debut novel, I should add. Like, I really want to say this is one of, if not the best debut novel I have ever read. And the ending, my God! Like, if the author can pull off an ending to this caliber more than once, then she deserves to have like a name up there with Janny Wirtz's endings, Brandon Sanderson's endings. Like we have the Sanderlanches, the Hurricanes. LL Stevens should be up there if she can pull this off more than once. And I've heard that she can. And that for every ending of all the books, she does a fantastic job of it. Which is insane. Because the ending to this book was bonkers. It was nuts. And as I said, I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I don't want to spoil anything before I jump into spoilers. But holy fucking shit. It's worth it. It was that good. When you get to the ending of this book, you go, okay, this journey was a fantastic journey. I loved every moment of it, and it's worth it now. Oh my God. This journey in this first book was worth it. And honestly, I think if you wanted to, you could read Sordaneon as a standalone. You really could. You could read it and be done. But I don't think that's how we're supposed to read it. Or at least I think you could read it and be done. There are things left up in the air, of course there are. But I think that if you finished with Sordaneon and you were like, I'm content, I can sit here for a while, then I'd completely understand you. I think you probably shouldn't do it, but I'd understand you. Now, I think it's about time that I jump into spoilers. So, a 3, a 2, a 1. We're in spoiler territory now, so leave if you haven't read the book. Now, there are a couple things I want to talk about. One of them being Leviathan. I think that's how you pronounce his name, or Leviathan. I have no idea. But holy shit. There's so much to talk about regarding all these characters, but I'm going to talk about Mark Frederick, I'm going to talk about Jonathan, and I'm going to talk about Leviathan. And of course, the ending. We'll get there. But Leviathan, so I was actually told that he becomes more Stahlbond by the end of the book. And I had no idea what Stahlbond meant, so I went to the index and was like, oh, that's interesting. And the Stahlbonds are, I think, people connected to the Rill, like by birth. And I loved everything having to do with that, because I knew something was going to happen to Leviathan. So what I expected was when he found his father and Dorilian's wife having sex, I expected him to get hurt badly, and I thought that he'd recover or heal, and then that something magical would be the solution. Nope. I mean, yeah, sure, something magical was the solution, but he died. I did not think he was going to die like that. That was insane. He just died. And that was the end of it. I was like, oh shit, he's dead. And then we get that absolutely bonkers, balls of the wall moment where his consciousness transfers into Dorilian's, well, not Dorilian's, into, well, I guess it's Dorilian's brother. Yeah, it's the boy, the son of, what's her name? God damn it. Nemours' sister. It's okay. You get my point, right? Dorilian's wife's son. Because it's not his son. But he will clearly, considering the end of the book, where his father dies, or where Deben, there we go, Deben's son. It's Deben's son. Where Deben just dies. It's insane. Oh my god. Deben died, and the fact that now he's going to have to raise his own brother as his son, I think. And I wonder, I'm very curious to see where Leviathan will go, because will he retain his memories? Will he be the same person? Will his view of the world, because clearly, I think, I don't want to say he's autistic, but I felt like saying that he would be somewhere on a special needs spectrum is not too far off, because the way he views the world is so different. And I think it's fascinating because he literally views the entire world in a different way than normal human beings. He sees it through a different dimension. And I wonder if he retains that ability. I think he will, but like, in to what capacity will he be able to see the normal world this time around? Because he wasn't well, I think he might have been prematurely born. I don't remember, because Durillion did have to kill his wife before he wanted to. Yeah, I want to kill my wife. I'm just holding off so I can have my kid. Or not even my kid. I can let my brother get reborn. How about that? Insane shit to think about. But then there's Jonathan, and everything with Mark Frederick. Everything with Mark Frederick. I think, how do I talk about the Mark Frederick stuff? Because that was so good. Seeing Durillion, after his grandfather's death, learn to open up and love someone else other than his grandfather and his brother was such a touching thing. We didn't even spend that much time with Mark Frederick, and yet it felt like they created this deep, emotional, loving bond. And especially what I loved was his relationship to Jonathan. Oh, that was so heart-wrenching. Because you knew, like, I was like, when Durillion gave the horse to Jonathan, I was sitting there going, hey, wait, why are you giving the horse to Jonathan? And so I was like, okay, maybe I overlooked a detail. Maybe Jonathan actually can hold the horse. Like, he actually does have the willpower to keep the horse under his control. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'm just not really getting my facts straight. Because I thought that not even Jonathan was allowed or would have been able to control the horse, and only Durillion could. I mean, that was a correct assumption. But then Jonathan's like, I'm going to go out on a ride with this horse that Durillion gave me. And it's like, you're just so happy for Jonathan. You're so happy for, what's his name, for Durillion, and Mark Frederick, because Mark Frederick was clearly so happy that Durillion gave him this gift. And Durillion, he genuinely seemed to do it out of love for Jonathan and out of spite for whatever his name is, the Wall Lord, I think is who he is. But then we get that tragedy of a moment, and I thought, okay, shit, he's gonna be paralyzed for the rest of his life. I mean, you hear all these stories about horses. Horses are fucking scary, man. Like, horses scare the fuck out of me. Like, what was it? The original Superman actor, for the old Superman movies? I think he broke his neck horse riding and got stomped on by a horse, and so he was paralyzed for the last few years of his life. And then, of course, he died because it's so hard to maintain your life like that. But my dad once told me that story, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, horses are dangerous. These are, like, heavy animals with powerful legs. They have a punch to them. And so I thought, oh shit, he's paralyzed for the rest of his life. I thought that Jonathan was going to be able to use one of his arms, and that for the rest of his life he wouldn't be able to use his legs. Something like that. And then we get the news, Jonathan is dead. I think I had to close the book for a second. I'm like, no! I sat there going, no, why? Jonathan, oh, fuck me. Jonathan. Oh, that was such a heart-wrenching moment. And then the scene where Darillion goes to Mark Frederick, and Frederick tells him, go away. Leave with all your hate and your malice. And I could probably find the moment in the book, because I think I took a picture of it. But, oh, man, that was such a beautiful and heart-wrenching moment. And then the beauty of it comes when Darillion goes, okay, I cannot leave you alone. If I left you, you're going to do something horrible to yourself. I just know it in my heart. And so he stays with Mark Frederick. And he helps him maintain everything. And he does his best to genuinely be a good person towards Mark Frederick. A loving, caring friend is what he does there. He says he has all these ulterior motives, but in this moment, it's very clear he's doing this because he loves Mark Frederick, and this is his friend. That's the sort of thing that a good friend will do for you. And that's such a brilliant and wonderful moment in the book, really. I honestly, it may be my favorite moment in the book. And without it, it would not have made the death of Mark Frederick hit as hard as it did in the ending. 'Cause holy shit, the ending. The death of Mark Frederick, and then, what's his name? Darillion running to, damn it. Darillion running to the Rill and transporting himself all the way back to Sordan, or wherever the capital was. I don't know if he was in Sordan or not in the end. And then killing his wife and tearing her stomach open so he can get. I think he tore her stomach open so he could get Leviathan out of her. What an insane sentence to say. Like, I wonder if somebody could hear that sentence out of context and go, what the fuck is he talking about? But it's such a great sequence of events, and then the moment where both Deben and Mark Frederick die is so crazy, and it has such a it's such an interesting moment to me, because we have both fathers of Darillion in his life. And there's one line in the book that actually sticks out to me a lot, and that is when at Jonathan's birthday, Mark Frederick smiling and saying how much he loves his son and how proud he is of him, and Darillion sitting there watching and drinking and saying, the Stauberg Randolphs have absolutely no idea how rich they are. And that moment struck such a chord in me. I just look at that and I think that's such a beautiful moment. And sad, it's depressing, it's tragic. Because Darillion never got that love and approval from his father. And his father always just rejected him offhand. He even rejected the one person who Darillion truly loves, and that's Leviathan. And then, in the end, what was so fascinating was that he does die, and Deben never gives him that approval. He's always scorning Darillion. He's always mocking him or trying to fight him in something. And then we have Mark Frederick, who is the second father figure he's had in his life, in comparison to his grandfather, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. But then there's his second father figure in his life, and that is Mark Frederick, who gave him that love and who gave him that approval and never gave up on him. He gave up on him for like a second. And had he truly been able to go through with it, and I'm talking about when Jonathan died, if Mark Frederick had been able to go through with that, I think he would have regretted it throughout the rest of the book, rest of the series, and that would have been so bad for Darillion as a character. But what else I'm very interested to see continues throughout the series is how will, God damn it, how will Darillion interact with the Stauberg Randolphs? Because his last promise to Mark Frederick was, I will protect your family, I will keep them safe. And considering we're being set up to fight Stefan, how are we going to actually go through with that? And another thing that I haven't even touched on is Mark Frederick was isekai'd into this world. Which is insane! What do you mean? He was transported from our world to their world. I want to know more details about that. What the fuck do you, that was such an offhand comment that I paused and texted the person who I knew who'd read the series and said, what the fuck? That was not what I expected to hear about Mark Frederick, but it makes sense. Considering, I think they said he just kind of showed up in his early 20s and he started making changes across the world and became this huge ruler, this emperor, this king. And then, of course, it was his daughter who went over to meet Darillion, and I think that's so fascinating. I want to see more interactions between his daughter. I think her name is Emily or something like that. I want to see more interactions between her and Darillion, because I want to know where Darillion is going with this. What is his current thought process? What are his plans? What is he going to do? And most of all, I want to know what the end game for this series is. I'm so fascinated by it because I have absolutely no idea. We might have a conflict between Stefan and Darillion, but at the same time, I think Namor is still alive. So how's that going to pan out? Are we going to go all-out war with Namor? Is there some greater power at work here? Because the Rill and all these god machines, what's going on with them? And why was Mark Frederick brought from our world? So many questions. I don't typically have the brain power to think of all these questions, but when a series gives me enough mysteries, I love to ask these questions. Anyways, that's about all I got. This is a great book. I truly love it, and I think we need to talk about this book more, this series. And then I think its last book is coming out next year, early next year. Hopefully I can be caught up by then. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But until then, I hope you all have an absolutely great day. Tell me, have you read Sordaneon? Will you be reading it now? Are you interested in reading it? I hope you do, because it's so worth it. But tell me, what do you think? Anyways, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you all next time.